My name is Michael Bennett. I'm the president and CEO of a company called Pure for Planet, another holding company called Optimal Eco Solutions. And you all are in a very interesting place right now in life. You are learning about a technology that is going to revolutionize the way that we live indoors. And I mean that sincerely. We are going to learn in this call about what's going on with water, what's going on with our air, what something called bioresonance is, biofield is, and how that's affecting our food and our immune systems. Okay. To give you a quick history about myself, I've been involved with water since, well, really since I was born. I was born next to a water tower. And now that I know that water holds and stores memory, I just imagine what was coming down in my bedroom when I was a little boy, holding the town's water next about 25 feet from my head. So this is about a lot of information here, but I'm going to go as quickly as I can and make as much sense to you as I can. My background: water, sales and marketing. When I wasn't doing sales and marketing, I was doing basically mystical things. I was introduced very early through a grandmother to Native American spirituality. I was introduced to the nature of what you might call Pan or nature through my grandfather, who was a tree trimmer. And basically, he showed me at a very early time that the rings of life on trees. He'd sit down on the back porch and say, "This is the age of this tree, Michael." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so I had I lived in a town of 15,800. I grew up with cornfields all around me and creeks and creeks and so forth. So I was very much in nature. And at the end of my road was a lagoon. So I had a very nice childhood when it came to nature. Nature was all around me. And we had a very simple relationship with nature as farmers, 13 generations of farmers. We respected it, we understood it, and we didn't abuse it. Until about 1975. In 1975, there became something in the agriculture industry called chemicals. And I remember it vividly, going out to my Uncle Gene's house, out to the farm. We always had dinner out there on a Thursday night. Dad took us out there in the afternoon, and that was a time when your garbage disposal was the pigs, and you threw the food over the fence, and the pigs ate it. But this was a time in the 75 when I started to see these inoculation bottles in Gene's barn, and I started to see that there was a lot more chemical bags that he was throwing away. So not only was the chemicals being introduced into his livestock, but also into his production, into his corn and so forth. So all these bags all the time. I'm like, where are those? They just sort of like they blew up in the wind next to the combine and things. And so what I was beginning to see was the absolute awareness that we were experiencing something called chemicals. Now, in this call, I've sent most of you, and if I haven't sent it to you, I've sent you something called a Bova scale. So I'm gonna open up the lines just for a second here. But if you got a Bova scale, just in the chat room, just say, "Yeah, I've received that." So there's just a few of us on the call, and this is meant to be a very intimate call. So how many of you received the Bova scale so far? Just say so in the chat. Okay, great. Natalie got it. I know you got it. Ryan, Amy, Irene, I know you got it. Your new friend, Natalie, Natalia, can you send it to her? Okay, great. Irene, Serena, you haven't received it yet. Barbara, could you send it to Serena? Just say yes in the chat. Okay. So this is one of those things where, okay, Serena, okay. So this is one of those things where I'm going to ask you to suspend your belief on what you think you know about the world. I'm going to ask you to suspend your belief about what you think water is and what air is. I'm going to ask you to suspend your belief about what you think food is and what you think your cell phone is. Okay? We're going to look at something from a very new perspective today. You see, most of what we've been living in our life is been given to us. We've inherited information from other parties. We inherited it from school. We inherited it from the science teacher. We inherited it from our parents. Our parents inherited it from somebody else. And we inherited it from generations and generations of a particular way of thinking. Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. And there's an excerpt on the website that I pulled out that shows specifically how Newtonian physics was selected as a way of thinking. Newtonian physics was not the only possibility of how we could have thought about life. Now, that may not make sense right at the moment, but when you go back and watch this clip, it'll make a lot of sense. Newtonian physics, Newtonian science, Newtonian physics by Newton was adopted with the idea that it didn't include spirituality, or it didn't include anything from the outside. It was all about matter, physical matter. And if you're a massage therapist, if you're a person that works with the body, you learn about the muscles and tissues. That's pretty much where the Newtonian physics perspective is. But there wasn't anything that said outside energies, outside influences, outside frequencies could impact the human being or could impact anatomy. This is what was excluded from the idea. They picked Newtonian. But there was also another idea there, which was that spirit or God was involved, but they didn't choose that. And I want you to understand this is how we learn to learn about everything we learn right now. We learn about things through Newtonian physics. And Newtonian physics is based on matter. It doesn't based on spirit or energy or frequency. Now, in 1925, I don't have his name right now, but he's on the website. He came across something called quantum physics. And Tesla has said to us now, if you want to understand the universe, then you have to understand frequency, energy, and vibration. So there are modalities that people look from to determine how physical matter can be. For example, today I just experienced Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine sees the body different than an allopath does, different than Newtonian physics does. Okay? So there's different ways of seeing the body, different systems. I'm going to ask you today to consider that everything that we have in our universe is energy based. Everything is energy. Everything's always been energy. Everything will always be energy. But we're taught that it's matter, that it's physical matter. And if you look at the website where we talk about David Icke, we talk about information. So you and I and the plants and animals and everything that's on this planet is based in information. It's frequency, energy, and vibration. So sit with that for a second. You were not taught in the beginning of your life that water was physical, was energy, frequency, and vibration. How many of you ever heard that water was frequency or energy or vibration? No. You were taught that water was based on Newtonian principles, which was chemical, which was about hydrogen and oxygen, which means that water could then be addressed by anything that was chemical based. So as long as water was in the spectrum of chemicals or the disarmament thing, or let's say, the disharmonic frequencies or things that cause problems for water, polluted or contaminated it, it also had to be, the solution had to be inside of Newtonian physics. You all understand what I'm saying here? Just nod your head. Okay. All right. Thank you. I just got a couple heads nodding. That's all I need. Okay. So what this means is, folks, we are limited in terms of how we perceive our world. Our world is only based on the ability which we were given as inherited information or a biology of belief. It's interesting the way Dr. Lipton named it that way, because a biology of belief is the biology or the design of belief. Those of you that are on this call are going to begin to consider that water and life is no longer matter. And if you understand this from this perspective I'm delivering it from, it's that you were given a belief system when you were born. And that belief system has shaped your relationship to the environment. The air you breathe, the water you drink, the food you eat, and the biosystem or the biofield that you live inside of. Now, the first attack on your system was chemicals in the 70s. The first time that there was an impact on your physical body on terms of what outside a substance was chemicals I'd say heavily in the 70s. Okay, there's a big advancement. Prior to that, we didn't have a lot of interference. We didn't have a lot of chemicals. We didn't have a lot of pollution. We had certain things. We had this whole evolution started happening during the Industrial Revolution when we began to introduce outside influences into our agricultural or agrarian way of living. In 1970, this got accelerated in every aspect of agriculture and food production, in health and wellness and everything, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, not compounds, not compound pharmacies, but pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals was a whole different conversation. Now, the latest interruption for the immune system is telecommunications, or what we'll call EMF pollution, electromagnetic frequencies, electromagnetic pollution. Our bodies are a series of electromagnetic currents. And if you after this call, if you all go to the video that says your inner journey, or starting the journey inside of the website, it talks about an interview that I did with Mary Rick, where we talked about the benefits of negative ionization. Now, I want to tell you how insidious this is. The fact that we can kill a biological contaminant, okay? We kill biological contaminants with negative ionization. And our negative ionization technology is based in electronic semiconductor technology, okay? This category is considered by the United States government as a pesticide. This is how deep this rabbit hole goes, okay? Our technology that kills biological contaminants, mold, mildew, influenzas, viruses, and so forth, that are considered living biological contaminants and pollutions, are considered a pesticide in the United States. Let that sink in for a minute. Chemicals are pesticides. Electro-semiconductor ionization is now considered a pesticide. I spend half my days working out with the EPA right now, with our EPA information, how we have to explain to them we're not a pesticide. We kill biological contaminants, but we're not a pesticide. I'll get to that in a second. So I want you to understand, as you go through this conversation, that nothing you believe about anything in the environment is true. You were giving a belief, and that belief shapes everything, and everything you perceive and see about how you live your life, what you eat, what you drink, what you consume. The BRICS rating, all these organic categories, the basic 4 food groups in the United States, all completely fabricated, made up, just made up, okay? Science essentially made up. Now, when you understand that the Newtonian perspective was one possibility of how we could have viewed life, you start to understand why you're having such a hard time understanding how to deal with your health and wellness. Because there have been things now like chemicals and now electromagnetic pollution that's outside of the matter realm. You see what I'm saying? Nod your head if you see what I'm saying. Okay, everything that was not given to you as information about water and air and food and biofield and magnetobiology, what the actual term is called magnetobiology. It's the effect of electromagnetics on biology. The military knows full well there's an effect of it. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is everything that you were not shown about the truth about what these things are in life, these companies, these scientists, these corporations, they do understand it goes beyond matter. They understand that pollution has ramifications beyond physical matter. It's actual electromagnetic pollution. It's actually physical pollution. And so you can't take nature and introduce information and not change nature. But you can do it if you were never taught that that was the truth about nature. So you just got to go. So we're wrestling all the time with pollution and environments and and then we're going up against science and we're saying, well, what's the scientific proof? And it's like, listen, it's not true. You gave me one way to view this particular elemental. It's not valid. There's more than one way to view this elemental, but you only gave me one. And then you build a whole world around that one way. Now, if you go watch the movie Water the Great Mystery, you'll see that the spiritualists and the ancestors understood that water was much more than hydrogen and oxygen. They didn't know it was hydrogen and oxygen. That didn't even occur. I'll have to go back and research when the scientists said hydrogen and oxygen, somewhere around probably Darwin or evolution. So there was a property about water, that water held memory, that it stored and recorded information. So I want you to understand the impact of this, because you're looking at an element that you don't know the truth about. And you're looking at an element that has been altered in so many different directions that you can't compare against anything because you don't have anything to compare it against. So you're looking at bottled water, tap water, distilled water, all these different types of water that have been modified and mutated, and you've got nothing to say about it because you don't have anything to compare it to. You with me? You're just sitting there going, okay, okay, okay. So then you are constantly on the defense. We're constantly on the defense in everything we do in health and wellness because we're only told half the story. We're on the defense. We're always positioned on the defense. Always, 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 always. Okay, now Tesla comes along and says, listen, frequency, energy, and vibration. Now they didn't agree to that in terms of in terms of energy, electricity. They went the direction of AC instead of DC. But they took the information and they've reversed engineered the information. If they didn't reverse engineer information, we wouldn't have cell phones. Okay, so now we're left with these impacts on our physical body, plants, animals, and people that are not natural. They're not natural for us. And we're like scratching our head and trying to figure out, well, how did that happen? How come people are getting sick? Because you're only having so much information to deal with here. But the truth of the matter is we're full spectrum beings. Full spectrum. We exist on a full spectrum. Energy exists on a full spectrum. The reason 5G and EMF and microwave issues are such a big deal is because you can't see them. And they're penetrating on a deeper level at the mitochondria level. They're a part of that spectrum. But we're not. So they're, again, working in the dark with energies and frequencies that you and I can't access. We can't, first, we don't understand, but we're full spectrum. Now, what am I about to say? What is Tesla saying? Frequency, energy, and vibration. Well, what's outside of this spectrum? Energy. Energy is between you and me. Energy is between Amy and Ryan on the couch right now. Energy is between this conversation. In the space we call air is energy. In the space of our body is water that's energy. We're essentially electrical outlets. We're electrical beings. We're lamps. We're just a series of electromagnetic and energies and frequencies that makes a lamp. And this has been disturbed now on a frequency level. So if you're only a matter being, and we're only dealing with water as a hydrogen and oxygen issue, then you don't think about the chemical. You say, okay, well, yes, but there's harmful chemicals. Yes, we know that, but we're going to clean those all up. Wait a minute. You're in a chemical composition way, you're going to clean that all up. But again, since you never told me that I'm frequency, energy, and vibration, and water's frequency, energy, and vibration, I'm not cleaning up the frequency, energy, and vibration of that water or that chemical. It's not available. So we're running around all the time, dealing with science, dealing with each other, dealing with doctors, dealing with cognitive processes, only having certain information. We don't hear that chemicals is a frequency. We don't hear that chemicals is a form of vibration. We're not told that laundry detergents that you're using is affecting you on a vibrational level because it's not in the context. So you guys are context shifters. That's what this whole thing is about. Pure for Planet is bringing the purity back to the planet. It's a context shift. So the people that can hear this, and they're out there because their bodies are 70, 90% water. So they're going to hear the information on a water level. But if you begin to see the impact, sound, frequency, energy, it's all very demonstratable of how it affects physical matter. But nowhere in your world have you ever said, and it's obvious, right? You eat an apple and you produce energy from the apple. How many of you say to your dinner, your lunch, I need more energy? I'm going to consume an apple. You say, I'm hungry and I'm going to have some food. But again, the food is not considered an energetic frequency, but that's exactly what it is. It's a spectrum of colors and electromagnetic frequencies that your body needs to take inside. So if we establish this foundation of our body as an electromagnetic system, series of systems, millivolts, takes millions and millions of millivolts, okay, to blink your eye. Okay, so if you begin to give yourself permission, you can begin to see the entire world as an electrical field. If If the world of plants and animals and people are electrical fields, then this means other things that disturb our electrical field are what we're dealing with right now. Chemicals are, many chemicals can be disturbing to our electrical field. Electromagnetic is disturbing to our electrical field. So this is beginning to get this context shifted. So you would perceive, because of what you've been taught about water, that even if it says water, that it's water. It's bottled water. It's tap water. Okay. There's a point, this is just so incredible to me. There's a point where you can't really address this because you say, well, at what level does this water give life? Because we don't have the construct for that. We don't have the construct to say, what level does this water give life? What level does this tomato give life? We came up with things like brick ratings and organics and so forth and so on, but those categories aren't really about energy. They're about certain levels of how healthy the food is, how clean it was grown, how much chemicals were used in the process. How many people know what the word organic really means? It's void of chemicals in its growth process. Doesn't talk about its frequency, doesn't talk about its ability to give you energetics. Okay. So, and we'll play with this more. So, why am I laying this foundation? Why am I taking time to lay this foundation? Because you have no real understanding of what you're doing with water, energy, and food and frequencies. You were never taught. You were never taught the relationship to all these things that we do and how they affect the energy field that we live in. And it's been very, very difficult for a very successful scientist to be able to open this jar, open this can, and go, hey, whoa, whoa. Now, many doctors are beginning to say, listen, there's an outside influence, how you think, your positivity, so forth and so on. Well, they're beginning to accept that. But for years, Dr. Benveniste, Dr. Emoto, if you really talk to lots of people, the first thing they're going to say to you, well, what's the science on that? And I want to say to you, listen, the science was created for you to believe. The science was something you were given to accept. It's one, do you know that science was created as a possibility of how to communicate this information, but there was more than one way. And you were only taught this way, Newtonian physics. So Newtonian physics is the foundation for our entire world. Water treatment, everything we do is based in Newtonian physics. That's what they selected. But again, when you go back and really watch this video with different eyes now, you'll see like, wait a minute. Where's spirit? Where's energy? Where's thought? Where's frequency? Wasn't in the conversation. Wasn't part of the design. And the careful part about that is neither was the solutions, or neither was the mutations, neither was the alterations. Was that an ooh-ah moment, Amy? Because the alterations that they make to the water and the air and the food and the chemicals doesn't have a context in your mind, because you have no way of perceiving that these things would alter your energetics, because you were never told you're a full spectrum being. And life is about full spectrum for the plants and the animals. Now, if you're from a Christian background, or even if you're from a mystical background, what does the Garden of Eden actually mean? We all say, well, it's Garden of Eden. It was a cool place. It was a frequency, incredible vibrational frequency place. It was full of a spectrum of high frequency. The grass was amazing. The air was amazing. Everything was amazing because it was full spectrum. Okay, I think I've laid this foundation. So where are we at now as a result of this? Our water's completely alterated. Our water had information in it given to us by the Creator that was designed to support the systems of plants, animals, and people, for the immunity of plants, animals, and people. The reason that chemicals were introduced, and it was very carefully walked around, was if you understood immunity, you would not use chemicals. But no one asked as a farmer, well, I guess my immune system, my plant's not very strong. But that's exactly why you're going to jack it up with chemicals, because the reason that it has ringworm or cornworm or whatever it is because the plant is not healthy. It's an immune system issue. It's a soil issue. It's a water issue. It's an immune system issue. So the answer to that was chemicals. Okay, it's the same now for us. Our pharmaceuticals, we're immune system issues. Our immune systems are under attack, and they've been attacked for a while.